In this video, we'll take a look at Logbook Pro and how to get it started from the time you first install the application. When you install Logbook Pro, it's a very straightforward, top-notch installer by Install Shield, so you can guarantee that you have a very safe installation of the software. Once you do have the software installed, you can go to the Start Programs menu and click the Logbook Pro application, or if you have a shortcut on your desktop, then you can go ahead and launch the application as you desire. We'll go ahead and start up Logbook Pro now, and I'll show you how to get started within the setup process. When you first run the application, you're going to be prompted with a dialog to either create a new data file, open an existing data file if you're a previous Logbook Pro user and maybe you reloaded after some time or reloaded your computer, for example, and you need to reattach to your database. You'll see this dialog. Or if you have a backup instead of an existing data file, you can restore from the backup in this dialog as well. You see this dialog when Logbook Pro cannot determine your last used data file. But in the event of a new user, we're going to create a new data file, and you want to specify where to save the database. The default location, because Logbook Pro doesn't know anything about your computer other than where Logbook Pro is installed, it's going to ask you to save your data file to your Logbook Pro directory, which the default is C:\program files Logbook Pro. Now we recommend that you save your data file in an alternate location. There's no need to save it with where Logbook Pro itself is installed. So if you have multiple hard drives or your own personal directory, which is highly recommended, such as C:\mydata as an example. That way you can always back up your My Data folder, and then whenever you're doing your manual backups to protect your own created data, you're also going to be backing up your Logbook Pro database as well. Don't worry, there's also a built-in backup routine within Logbook Pro, but again, the idea here is to save your database to a location other than the, so we'll go to, C:, we'll just put in the root folder for this one, My Logbook. Type in the name what you want for your logbook, and then click the button Create, and Logbook Pro will create a data file just for you. Now, if you're using the Standard or Professional Edition, you're only allowed to have one database per pilot, or one pilot for your license. Now, if you need multiple pilots, such as a household where multiple people in the house fly, or your business, multiple people in the business, or an FBO operation where you want all your students and instructors to maintain an electronic logbook, which is a great idea, so your instructor can keep track of all your students while your student's not there. In other words, the logbook's not present. You can go ahead and open up their logbook, annotate any comments after they've departed, or prepare prior to their arrival, and look at their history so they can get a good instructional session with you. Type in your name. Now, this very first screen of user info is important because your reports and other areas of Logbook Pro are going to draw information from these screens. So fill out the options area as complete as possible. So we'll go ahead and fill out our name, our address. Some people like to put their social security number in this slot, or your address, whatever you want to use these slots for. You have 3 slots available. You'll also notice when Logbook Pro starts up, you're going to get a sound of an airplane. In case you get tired of that, or you're waking up the kids, or getting someone's attention with that noise, you can go ahead and click this option down here in the lower left, and if it's checked, which is not the default, if it is checked, then you won't hear the sound at startup. So let's go ahead and accept this. Alright, so that's the basic setup. Now, let's get back into the options area for a second, and let's go through some of the options again for initial setup. Logbook Pro is not going to be able to log any entries until they're aircraft defined. Alright, so it's important, and if you try to get to the logbook area, you go in either of the 2 formats, the Windows style or the spreadsheet style, and Logbook Pro determines the aircraft have not been entered yet or configured for the program, it's going to ask you to come back and please configure an aircraft. So let's go ahead and type in my trusty C-152, and the defaults, airplane, single engine land, normal, and try to get everything configured as accurately as you possibly can. You can always come back and change this. One of the beauties of Logbook Pro, as I'm going to show you later, is that if you change things here in the options, it will reflect in your logbook later. Your reports, the analyzer, your data analysis is all going to base off of this setting. Now you can see as I scroll that the aircraft is not moving. All right, so you're able to see which line you're on. If you take your mouse and put it to the right of this shaded area, you can see the cursor change with a little lock where you can actually determine which columns are frozen. And if you take it all the way to the left, none of the columns will be frozen. And then you can, of course, bring it back out and freeze that left column, which is usually a good idea so you can see that which aircraft we're working with here. You can resize columns by dragging the column header in between, double-click in between to automatically resize it to the minimum width that column requires. And then there's some options at the bottom where we can add new aircraft. Once you're done, click Add New Aircraft. Save the information, which will happen automatically when the option dialog is closed, as well as print the layout as you're going to see here. So let's just go through and make sure we have everything set up. Now, you can also enter a cost per hour, such as your rental rate for the aircraft. Now, if this changes, such as with an instructor or not, there are not multiple options available at this time. When you enter a duration value in the logbook area, it's going to take that duration value, multiply by this cost per hour, and assign a cost for that flight so you can track of. So let's, I think 55 is the local rental rate here for the C-152. I can't recall. And then any remarks, if you want to add remarks. My first airplane student ride. Whatever you want to put in remarks, you can go ahead and log it. Notice I hit enter and committed that data. And then just close the dialog. And like I said, it pretty much everywhere in Logbook Pro will automatically save your data for you just by entering it and then closing the dialog. You don't have to worry about hitting the save button. If Logbook Pro requires a save operation, it will prompt you, say, hey, you sure you want to save this? Or you've got information that change, we need to either commit this or not. But typically, like on a flight, just enter the data as long as you've met the minimum required information. When you close the screen or close the program, it's automatically going to save the data for you. It's not going to let you not save something from your hard-earned effort. That's it for configuring the application. You're just going to start up Logbook Pro, create a new data file, go ahead and enter your name information, add your aircraft, and then which you can always do at a later time after you have your first aircraft used. You fly something new, go back and add a new aircraft. But I also want you to see the documentation that's available. By clicking Help and then Contents, we can see there is a complete guide for you to learn everything you need to know about Logbook Pro. And you can learn some neat features. Logbook Pro is designed initially to have a very simple, easy-to-use interface, but has some extreme power under the hood when you really want to get into it. So you can go into the quick tour, which I highly recommend once you first start up Logbook Pro, and just go ahead and review the quick tour, and then you can really get into the information such as the analyzer, and which is a great tool, many people's favorites. With the leather binders that are available for the application for your nice printouts, and so the help documentation, a great resource. Another resource online for you is the e-community, the discussion forums, to where you can post questions, and we give this the highest priority and support. So we look at our e-community first, then we look at email for registered customers, then we'll look at email for non-registered customers and go from there. But we highly recommend you take a look at the online resource. You can do a search. As you can see, there's the search button up here, and really get a good search on items that you might be able to find your answer to and not wait on a response. At the same time, other Logbook Pro users, of which there are many thousands at this time, also frequent this forum and be happy to answer questions for you. But naturally, we'll get on there and answer the question as soon as possible if nobody else answers it, if it pertains to Logbook Pro. Now, if it pertains to just entering flight information, then we suggest that you go to either post your question here, because we cannot answer questions about regulations, etc. We can only answer support questions of the software. But we have another great resource at flightinfo.com. They've got forums there, and you can see, as I'm showing you here, Logbook Pro has got an inline web browser, so there's no reason to get out of this application and go to your web browser and surf. You can actually look at some of the great aviation links from right within this application. But you can see here at flightinfo.com, you can go ahead and ask your FAR type questions or any other questions. And a great resource. And you can see as of this, we're looking at almost 8,000 members available, and very frequently used site, 7 million reads now, and courtesy of flightinfo.com. Well, this concludes the video of the startup of Logbook Pro. And if you continue with the series, we'll make sure you have a great understanding of some more features included in the Logbook Pro software. Thank you.